Morning, everyone. Wow. Wow. Here we are. Okay. Swaddy Cup. Swaddy Cup. And aloha. Aloha. Everyone understands aloha. And I wish I could speak all the languages that I have some really wonderful people trying to contact. It's asking me to have these translated into Spanish and to other languages. So we're working on Arabic. We're working on uh, 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 Chinese. I think most Europeans speak English, except I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's really hard to do this, to find people to do that. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry. Good evening. Good evening in New York, and good evening, East Coast. Good evening, America. I hope everything's okay over there, you guys. I haven't heard. I haven't been watching the news. I mean, not the news, but I haven't been following the guys that talk about the real thing, right? So, because I really don't. Yeah, I wanted to show you. I really don't. I mean, there is no news as we all know on any of the news channels. So I mean, I don't watch that, but I mean, I haven't been following what's happening there. But I do talk to my people at the clinic and at Oasis, and so I know what's happening in, at the clinic. But I mean, not in America politically right now. But anyway, just to show you guys something here. See, can't read it probably, but neither can I. But it's some medicine from Japan that I use, and very very important, and it has to be used during hyperthermia. So I've got to fly to Japan very soon and get some of this medicine. I hope my ah, where are my glasses? Totally unprepared. I apologize for being unprepared today. The reason I am is I spent all weekend trying to find a place for a location to have a center. We need to open up a center here in Thailand. Okay, so um, I finally have some wonderful people that are amazing, wonderful, beautiful people who actually understand what healing center, what it means by healing center, and so in the past when I've tried to open up centers outside of the United States, because in the U.S. I could, it was my place, so we did what we do what we know is correct. However, here I haven't been able to really find the right group of people who don't have there's how do you there's not another word for it, but they're greedy, and if there's one thing, there's a few things, but the one of the things that makes me the most angry in life is greed. And I shouldn't get angry, because I got to understand that people are at different levels of their growth and spirituality and all that sort of thing, and I shouldn't get angry, but greed bothers me. I mean, it bothers me. I can't. I mean, how many houses do I need? How many cars do I need? How much food? I mean, I don't need. Would I really? Anyway. So that bothers me. But so there's greed, and then there's greed with cancer. And what's happened with the world of cancer, as you all know, is that sadly, the conventional approach doesn't work, can't work, because it doesn't consider what the situation is. So not understanding the situation of what we call cancer, you couldn't possibly take care of it. Not understanding the situation of, I mean, you walk into a room and there's a lot of confusion going on, and you don't know what caused it. You can't even you can't even. So in other words, you need to understand it. So what I'm trying to say is that in the world of oncology of cancer, which by the way is manufactured. Sorry, it's manufactured. It's all manufactured. Okay, you know Not often, not often. And I believe me, I consult with or take care of thousands of people, literally. And only rarely do I find somebody who I can say, I understand why this guy got cancer, this lady got cancer. But most of the time, I mean, people were living lives that were really not, I mean, not, not, not crazy, not crazy, just living pretty standard, normal lives. Now, the sad thing is that we are poisoned. We are poisoned in every aspect. Now, the worst poison, in which I know you probably don't even, I forget who I'm talking to. I'm talking to you guys. You guys know it. You guys are smart, man. You guys are smart. But anyway, um, the worst poison is the mind. They poison our minds from the time we're born. From the time we're born, and you know, they tell us no, stop, don't, and you're not good. You know, and what does that? What does that mean? What does it mean when you can't even talk and your parents are saying no, stop, don't? What does it mean? It means, you know, in your heart, you feel like something's wrong with you because you don't know what's going on. Something's wrong with you, and that, you know, and that's how, you know, and so and then it goes on and on and on. So they were poisoned, and then they introduced us to, you know, when I was young. Well, I was young, long time ago. But anyway, when I was young, it was like 5 channels on TV. So I mean, I think everything ended at 11. I was in bed by 8 anyway. So, um, but I mean, there wasn't a lot of that distraction. So we had a lot of good. You know, we really had to talk. We talked to each other. We were, um, you know, I had a wonderful, beautiful relationship with my mother. My mother and I were like best friends and beyond. You know, so it's really, so and so, but then we get we get poisoned. But then the poisonings that are happening now. Now, as you all know, we've had, there are things that come out of the air at night and during the day. Fortunately, I don't see them here where I am now. I don't see these things. We know that the poisons are more and more and more. There's heavy metals everywhere. Our bodies just aren't designed to really deal with metals. Heavy metals that get into our body. I mean, do you all know what heavy metals are, and you know why they're a problem? You know why they're related to cancer? Well, heavy metals are. If you look at the period, you know, I wish, you know, we got to start doing. I got to get this membership going because we got to have Zoom so I can like pull up references and show you what's going on. I'd just like to show you right now the periodic table and just show you where heavy metals are and all that sort of things. Anyway, kind of, if you look at the periodic table of elements, right? You all know that, right? I have one friend of mine who keeps telling me I'm too complicated. I'm not complicated. I'm easy. I make it easy. Okay, the complication is not complicated. What doctors talk about is not complicated. They make it complicated so you pay them more money. So you pay them money, you think they're smart. All they know is a certain specific jargon. It's just words. So if I define the words for you, if I define the words, you shouldn't have any problem understanding what I'm talking about, right? Right? Imagine me talking to an electrician. If I don't know his jargon, I don't know what he's talking about, right? So I go, wow, is he smart? I'm stupid. I can't. I can learn it. I can just gotta learn the definition of the words. Anyway, um, so we're poisoned severely, and part of what's gotten into us are these heavy metals. And what they mean, what it really means is, and we're talking about mercury, we're talking about lead, we're talking about even arsenic, and thallium, cesium, uh, platinum, and uranium. I'm seeing lots of uranium and, you know, cesium. You know, these are like from nuclear warfare type stuff. So I'm finding it in people. And I have for quite a while. Thallium, thorium, I have found for quite a while, but even now more. Here's the major problem with these heavy metals is this. Remember, we've talked about in the past that The body has about 36 septillion chemical reactions going on every second. Every second. Remember that? Anyway, so that's a 36 with 21 zeros after it. The 36 with 21 zeros after it every second. Okay, and it's all coordinated, beautifully coordinated, so that you wind up being this being, and everything works and feels. And I mean, do you realize the intelligence? Can you imagine? No, we can't. We can't conceive. We can't conceive of the intelligence required to make this work. Neither can we ever reproduce it. You can't reproduce it. I don't care how smart you think AI is. I don't care how addicted you are to all these machines and you think they're so fantastic and all that. They don't come close to humanity. And artificial intelligence is not going to do. I mean, it's an evil force. It's an evil force produced by evil people for evil intent. Oh no, artificial intelligence is going to help us a great deal. Yes, it's going to make our lives so much easier. Yeah. Robotics is going to just make our lives so much easier, right? We won't have to work. Eventually, we can just sit down and watch TV all day. Oh, sorry about that. But anyway, heavy metals what happens is every one of those chemical reactions we're talking about is mediated by an enzyme, and that enzyme has to have a charge. It has to have electricity. It has to have energy coming into it. Electricity is a flow of electrons. I'm not talking about from the wall. I'm talking about the flow of electrons. Okay, so and that is what metals bring. So you've heard of I don't know if you've heard that like zinc is involved in like 150 chemical reactions in the body, and selenium is so all of these different metals are involved, and involved means that they are actually bringing in the energy that allows the enzyme to work. Well, what happens with heavy metals? They come in and they're heavy metal. They're stronger. They have a stronger affinity. They have a stronger attraction to the whatever it's attracted to, right? Remember, all metals are positive charge, so they get in there and they displace the selenium, they displace the zinc, they displace the iron. Whatever it is that we needed to make that enzyme work has now been displaced by something that stops it from working. And so basically your enzyme system shut down. Basically your metabolism shuts down. Basically, yeah, that's it. So your symptoms, that you will get from having this exposure can range from anything. Anything. So so that that's why it's really a problem. So the heavy metals, and so I mean that's one of the things that we're exposed to when we're young. We're exposed, and then as we grow older, we're exposed to, as you know, these chemtrails. We're exposed to all this stuff, and right. So um, yes, yes, our if there is such a thing as culpability in this, our culpability is that. And it's really hard being a human. Being a human, you get addicted. Being a human, you develop habits. We're habitual. That's the way we are. In fact, we're kind of programmed that way. I mean, we're designed that way. We're designed that way so that we could be efficient. Actually, consider it. If you weren't able to turn things into automatic mode, so that you don't have to think about it, you wouldn't be doing much. Remember the first time you drove a car, you had to get the key and you put it in, and you get both hands on the wheel. You're going too fast. You're looking out the windows. That was with the conscious mind. Once it got into the subconscious, you can drive and text and shave, whatever you want to do while you're driving. So yeah. So we've got to get things into subconscious. So it's part of that. However, the problem is that it also is the place in which our habits lie. It's where our kind of the they say that everyone has a dark side, and our dark side's in there somewhere. And we probably have many dark sides, right? And we have probably many light sides. But anyway, so and that's why once you learn, right? Once you learn that, for example, I mean, when I go out and I see people still going to fast food restaurants. I mean, this is 2022. You you didn't hear about, you didn't know, you don't know about McDonald's and Burger King, KFC. You don't know. I mean, I don't know how to, consider. I don't know. That keeps me, completely bewilders me. But anyway, so let's say you found out. Now you know. Wow, I can't eat this stuff. Wow, look at that. What, look at this package of food. I mean, look at this package that I thought I was going to eat. I can't even read the back of the label. I don't even know what's in it. All I know is it sounds like a chemistry experiment. I don't know if anyway. So once you know, right? And when you know what Coca-Cola is, whatever it is that people eat and drink, why can't we change? What's so hard about changing? Okay, but anyway, so there's that part to it. It's difficult thing, and I've been working on my whole professional life. I've been working on how do we help each other change? How can we be a positive impetus for that? And what I've come up with is we really need a transformative experience. Well, and we need three things to happen. We need to change our what we think we know. In other words, we need to learn. We need to completely change our database, right? Because I want to tell you something you're going to think I'm extreme. I know you are. Some of you get it. A lot of you get it. I mean, I love you all. A lot of you get it. But some people think I'm really bizarre and extreme. But let me just tell you something really simple. Everything you ever learned is the opposite of the truth. Sorry. Shouldn't have said that, but I did. So it's the truth. And I'm not saying everything. You might have learned some truth, but it's very rare to learn truth. Okay. All right. So it's very, very rare. All right. And so that's a major problem. So we are filled with ignorance, and then we're poisoned. And then we develop these situations that they call cancer, or they call heart disease, or they call whatever. I want you all to forget that word cancer. That word cancer remember something, please. It's a Rockefeller word. It was developed, and I'm going to get my book out someday, but I'm going to show you how it was developed, the American Cancer Society, which then became the foundation for the whole world, just like the AMA became the American Medical Association became the foundation of established conventional medicine for the entire world, which is why Singapore is so strict, which is why doctors get their license taken away in Singapore for giving intravenous vitamin C, stuff like that. So it's why everyone's trying to follow the gold standard. It's not the gold standard. Let's call it the fecal standard. How's that better? I like that better. Yeah. Except, guess what? You know what? It's hard to say that because I don't like to use any aspect of nature derogatorily, because feces is what? Fertilizer. It makes plants grow. It's part of the process. See, I mean, you can't. In fact, you can't use anything natural to when you're trying to be derogatory. But anyway, so yeah. But I want to talk about heavy metals, and I want to talk about that. And the hardest thing, though, is to change your life. And but what I'm so impressed with the group of you guys all, what I'm so impressed is how many of you are like, okay, I'm changing. And that's really what I love about this particular field of work. I mean, you call it a field of work, it's just what I do, but is that most people aren't negotiating. There's still some. There's still some. Can't I just? What about? Can I? What about? Can I just? Can I smoke a? They don't go that far. Most people say, well, no, no, you not that. I have smokers say, can I just smoke like whatever one, like whatever. And I don't work in drug addiction. I don't work with people who are drug addicted, but I'm sure the same kinds of things. Can I just do a little heroin on Sundays or stuff like that? Yeah. So, and here's the thing. Here's the thing about that, and keep this in mind. Very important. It's not what you do occasionally that's going to be a problem. It's what you do fairly regularly. So yeah, if you had, for example, I'm not. Please understand, I'm not recommending or anything. If you had a cigarette on Saturday, if you on a every Saturday one cigarette, if you, I don't know. But here's the problem with us humans. Whatever it is, I drink. I mean, they're poison, so I'm not recommending them at all. I'm not saying okay, you have a chocolate cake on Saturday, Friday nights. No, I'm not in that. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you did that and stopped, that would not change anything. And you did it again in a month, that's not going to really change it. It's just for a short time. But the problem is our mind, because once you let that in, and you can talk to any cigarette smoker who is still smoking and has quit multiple times, or talk to any alcoholic, or talk to any drug addicted person, or talk to anybody who's obese and has a problem with that. Um, if you have one of whatever it is, you're gone. And it's just the way we are. It's just the way we are. So remember something, everyone, and all know this. I like to put words to it so that we have a way to remember it. But uh, well, never mind. Never. I won't do that. I won't say that. It's okay. It's okay. Let's go to questions, and I'll stop being ranting and raving and all that stuff. Yeah. So I put the questions here. Anyway, so I'm really happy. I hope we're going to be opening up a cancer center, a healing center, um, and you know, over here in Asia, and that'll give you two really good choices. You can go to Arizona, or you can come here. Now, I might sound to you like, well, he's promoting his own places. Well, I'm not. I'm promoting. Well, here's the thing. Listen, you probably all don't have the time and the luxury of going all over and checking out and looking at every center to find out what's going on. How good is this place? How well you know you probably just don't have that luxury. Okay. Well, I have over the last 35 years. I have gone all around the world and I've looked at different centers and I've seen them. And there's an amazing. I mean, I have not found one. I found one that was close in Mexico, and I don't know how they are now, but that was called Sanofi, and they were very. At one point, I was really, really impressed. But I mean, there are wonderful places like Hippocrates in Florida is a fantastic place, but it does what it does. And then there are places you go where you get like really good. There's some great, amazing doctors I know. I know a fantastic guy, Dr. Jurgen Winkler in San Diego, and I mean, they're all over. But anyway, um, again, they usually people get focused on so uh, lifestyle and thinking and all that is actually considered almost ancillary, almost something you should do it, but really we got to get these IVs. It's not the truth. The time you go to bed, what you eat, how you eat, the way you interact, all those things are much more important than any IV you ever get. Any IV you ever get. Now, we're talking about for the long term thrivability of people. We're not talking about, I'm not talking about the person who right now is acutely in pain, has a severe problem, is nauseous. I'm not talking about that. That we need to take care of. I do understand that. I do understand. Of course, you know that. You know I understand that. But I'm talking about for the person where we've gotten past that point where we've, the pain is now controlled. Now they're able to eat. Usually people come to us, they're not able to eat, or they're not able, they've got severe pain, they're taking opiates, they're in big trouble, and that we've got to get over that part. We've got to get through that. It takes as long as it takes, and it takes what it takes. And then we do that. And once we get through that, then the work begins. Right? But you can't be even thinking about what I'm talking about now, about changing your life and learning how to turn your mind off and eating and sleeping and all that if you're in severe pain. How about and it's not only severe pain, there's also severe itching. Have you ever seen someone or experienced it yourself? I had a person come to me from Scandinavia, Norway. She had been itching for 10 years. Can you imagine your whole body itching for 10 years? Poor lady. She's okay now. She did okay. You know what would happen? You know who took care of it? Guess what helped her? I can't. Let me see. How do you? Is this what I do? Oh, this one. Yeah. Okay. You know what did it? Guess what did it? Yeah, you got it. Nature. Nature. Some people call it God. But anyway, nature, God. That's what happened. And that's what always happens in the end. Okay. We just need to join it. We need to work with God, hi everyone. Hi, beautiful people. We just need to join with it. We need to figure out how, here's the thing. Nature, you're in nature. You're in nature. You're in the woods. You're walking and the river's flowing. You're going to ride that river. You're going to block it. You're going to block it because you want it to go this way instead of that way. You're going to ride it. Work with nature. Find out how nature works and works with it. Why? Why should we find out what nature, how it works and work with it? Because we are, in spite of what we think, in spite of our bizarre collective delusion that humans are not part of nature, we are nature. If I step off of a building and an elephant steps off of a building at the same time, we will hit the ground at the same time. Anything that's heavy enough to not be lifted up by wind resistance will hit the ground at the same time. Because the gravity works always. Oh, and by the way, that's why natural laws exist. Natural laws exist so that existence can exist. Okay? Natural laws exist so that existence can exist. Natural laws allow existence to be what it is, and therefore they are non-negotiable. Can't I just? Yeah, you can, but you're not going to achieve optimal functioning. Can't I just? Sure, you can. I mean, yeah, you can smoke. You can smoke for 30, 40, 50 years. You can smoke. My grandfather smoked for 199 years. And okay, great. Okay. However, it's unlikely you're going to achieve optimal functioning. Now, what does optimal functioning look like? What does health look like? Anybody remember? Well, I had the pleasure this weekend of being with two people and their 3-year-old. And what I saw in their 3-year-old was the living example of health. What is health? It's exuberance, it's energy, it's overflowing with curiosity and all. That's what health is. When you get older, you get more refined and stuff like that, and you're sitting around more, blah, 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 but you've got that stuff. That's what it is. It comes down to energy. Anyway, I've gotten way off track, but I just, these things are just so critical, because if you can't see the fundamental overall picture of what's going on, then the details become very difficult to understand. What did that? I got to find out about this, or what about that, or what about this? Once you know the ultimate, once you understand nature and how it works and all that stuff, then all the little details kind of, they're there. Yeah, so sorry, I'm afraid I don't make sense to a lot of people, and that's just me. Whoa, Kapamaka. Yay. That was fantastic. I just got a gift. Wait a minute. Where am I? Okay, I'm gonna find this. So hang on. I'm gonna look. I gotta grab your questions. Now listen. By the way, I was kind of doing that all weekend, so I didn't even look at the questions. So I mean, really. So I think one I saw, because by the time I was done yesterday, then I was tired. So. But let me find these questions. Okay, so I gotta go. Wait, I gotta go to here. Wait, what am I doing? I gotta go to here, right? And then I go to. Bear with me, please, you guys. There we go. Gmail, right? Can you believe I'm using Gmail? I've transitioned over. I have my own. Most of you know it's, if you go to my website, it's usually hello@drlodi.com. But I guess, you know what? I'll bet that's part of Google. I'll bet it is. Now there are other platforms. I found a couple. I found one that was really, someone told me about. It's called FreeSpoke. Does anyone know about FreeSpoke as a search engine? FreeSpoke. There's Brave and FreeSpoke. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That's that one. Okay, good. I got that part. Now let me go for the. There we go. This way. Just one moment, guys. One moment, please. Here we go. Oh, come on. Anyway. Can't find. Anyway, I can't find it. We're kind of stuck here today. All right. Well, let's go. Let's just find these questions here and start going through them. Hello, questions. Where'd you go? There we go. Okay, cool. All right, good. Now, let me see. Now, got a lot of people on, right? We got a lot of people here. I never know how to read that, so I took the. All right. Instagram's dropped off recently. Oh, interesting. Okay, well, here's some Instagram questions. Okay, so the role of prolactin in breast cancer. Okay, well, the role of prolactin in breast cancer. Um, you all know what prolactin comes from the pituitary gland, right? And the pituitary gland is also, okay, EBV. The pituitary gland is also called the master gland of the body. But actually, it's responding to a little place above it called the hypothalamus that is really picking up all of the its data from the bloodstream, right? And so it's kind of where it all starts hypothalamus and then the pituitary, and then the pituitary produces uh, other hormones that regulate the hormones in your body, regulate your ovaries, regulate your thyroid, regulate your adrenal glands, etc. But there's another part to the pituitary, the anterior part, that's called the in the anterior part, there's something called prolactin, and prolactin is thought of mostly as a the milk producing milk, uh, the letdown process, prolactin. So prolactin obviously affects breast tissues, and it is found to um, so what happens is a woman's pregnant, she's got a baby in there, her breasts have gotten full of milk now, and then finally the baby's born, estrogens go down, progesterones go down, and the prolactin is up, and the prolactin allows the milk to come out. So the prolactin actually stimulates breasts to grow, stimulates milk to be produced. It's the whole process. It's called lactogenic, lacto meaning milk, and that's what prolactin does. Now, the other thing about prolactin is that it also has an effect on the prostate, um, and actually a few other organs, right? Because remember, in nature, no hormone ever has one role. Never. When we think of the heart, when we think of testosterone, right? For example, testosterone, the organ with the most receptors for testosterone is the heart, then the brain, then the muscles, then the genitals. Okay, so when you think of testosterone as libido is number 4 on the list. Okay, so yeah, all right. So that's how it works. Estrogen, no estrogen, no heart. Your heart's not going to work very well if you're for men, right? So estradiol levels are going to correlate with the ability of your coronary arteries to stay open and patent and letting blood go to your heart so your heart can continue working. So it's very important. So anyway, so men and women have the same hormones, exactly the same hormones in different proportions to each other. That's it. All right. So, and I'm sorry I didn't include another because I don't know of another besides men and women. Okay. Men who would like to be women. If they do, what do they have to do? They have to get the hormones that the women have. And that's why if they would come to a doctor, we would, and you did that kind of thing with people, you would help them with the hormones. You would give them the female ratio of hormones. And the same with the woman who would like to be a man. Change the hormone structure. And hormones are powerful. Hormones are powerful. If you've ever, when I was in medical school, I had our endocrinology department, the hormones department, was run by a husband and wife. They were both endocrinologists and worked in the same department all year round, all day. But anyway, they were pretty cool. They liked each other a lot, and they were probably in their 60s at that time. But I remember them telling me and telling the class that they think civilization, all that has ever happened that gets us out of being living in a very close to the earth, primitive, what they call primitive, but it's more indigenous, is due to testosterone. That's what they thought. That's what they said. That was their conclusion, being endocrinologists. So anyway, testosterone is very, very, very important. And they all interconvert. Testosterone becomes estrogen, estrogens, estradiol, etc. So anyway, now prolactin that's a very good question because it's elevated. It can be elevated in prostate cancer and in breast cancer. Now, it turns out that the studies on prolactin will show you that it really plays a major role in ER positive cancers and postmenopausal if it's high. If you have what's called a high prolactin, and then by the way, the reason why a high prolactin, like women who get, have you ever seen that? Women and men can get it too, where they just start getting milk coming out of their nipples for no reason. They have no, they're not pregnant or anything like that. It's galactorrhea, they call it. It's called hyperprolactinemia. They have a lot of prolactin. It turns out that that also is associated with erectile dysfunction for men. Is associated with menstrual irregularities and breast problems with women, and infertility in both. Because as prolactin goes up, the other ones go down. So the prolactin in that way will also keep estrogens down. But as it turns out, that prolactin and its relationship to breast cancer is that if you're ER positive and you've got a high prolactin, then something that would block the prolactin would be helpful too. And there's a drug called bromocriptine. It's probably the most popular, and it's used. It's used, for example, women who don't want to breastfeed, or they've got really bad infections. They have to stop, turn it off. Bromocriptine will turn it off. But now bromocriptine is a drug it's a dopamine 2 agonist, and so it's also helpful in Parkinson's, because part of the problem with Parkinson's is failure of dopamine production from the part of the brain called the substantia nigra, and that results in like a rigidity of movement, and that results in all sorts of stuff, including the part of what we know of as Parkinson's, which they call the masked faces, right? Where the faces are moving. Anyway, by stimulating that, you kind of bring back the as if the dopamine were there. So it's good for that. It's used in several other therapies. It has side effects though, and the side effects can be severe. The side effects can be heart problems. The side effects can be I'm talking about serious heart problems, and the side effects can be psychosis. The side effects can be basically a lot of really metabolic conditions. But basically, the two big ones I can think of now are the brain and the heart. But that's high doses. So what some studies have found is that you can take the bromocriptine at 2.5 milligrams a day, which is low dose, and that will lower the prolactin levels in both men with prostate cancer and women with breast cancer who have high prolactin levels. If you don't have high prolactin levels and you have either prostate or breast cancer, it doesn't matter. You don't need to take it. You wouldn't need to take it anyway. But 2.5 milligrams is not going to cause major problems, and it can be very helpful. So it turns out that the prolactin, why ER positive? Because it's synergistic. They both are going to stimulate tissue growth. Same with prostate. So, and we've said this many times, and we'll say it again and again, is that prostate cancer in men is breast cancer, as is breast cancer for women. It was so very similar in so many ways. So, I mean, both people of both groups should eat a lot of soy. But who else should? Colon, lung,
pancreas. So, lymphomas. So, actually, everybody should eat lotus whey. So, it's really, really, really important. You got to get the non-GMO. Got to get the non-GMO. Okay. Is a skin scrape biopsy at all dangerous, like a needle biopsy? Well, that's a good question, and to answer that really precisely, I would have to actually look up some studies on that. But just from my general thinking, so what would you scrape normally? You would scrape either some sort of skin cancer, like a squamous cell or a basal cell, or a melanoma. I can't imagine people scraping anybody scraping a melanoma. Melanomas are usually pretty clear what they are, and I can't imagine scraping it. But anyway, so but in general, I'd say no, not as dangerous. Why? Because when you do a fine needle aspiration, you actually go in deep into the tumor, and then you pull out. Right as you're pulling out, you can actually track along. You can pull along malignant cells. That can happen. Now, on the other hand, the scraping and the poking are both going to result in unleashing the inhibitory effect on microscopic metastases that have already developed in the person. All right, so that will happen. So we do know that. And we talked about that around 3 weeks ago. We talked about it with regards to heparin and the use. I mean, you all know what heparin is. It prevents blood from clotting. So if you have a blood clotting problem, they're going to usually give you. I'm trying to find my other glasses, but I guess they're not around. If you have blood clotting, they're going to give you heparin or something called it's a low molecular weight heparin, such as Levinox, whatever the brand name is. But it's a low molecular weight, which means you can give it less often because it lasts longer. They give those things, all right? And those things are related to what happens at the peripheral, at the other levels where you've got microscopic metastasis. Why am I saying that? Because if you have even a little lump on your breast, a little nodule on the prostate, they find a small mass in the pancreas. Doesn't matter where it is. If it's small, just little teeny, you're just able to discover it. It's already been around probably 8 years. And during that 8 years, it has become spread around. It is in different areas of the body already. Okay. They haven't grown because they've been kept at bay. They've been kept at bay because of the immune system and because of the not allowing the blood vessels to develop to allow it to grow. So angiogenesis is turned off. Okay. So they're there. So this is why if you think about it, the staging system in conventional oncology is absurd. Because it's absurd because it's not they're not saying really what's going on. What they should be saying is that, I mean, when they call it stage 1, which means that it's just a spot and it hasn't really disturbed the architecture of the organ yet, whereas stage 2 is a larger, bigger, still in the same organ, but disturbing the architecture. And 3 is in the lymph, and 4 is in another organ, right? That's how they broadly classify it. Well, even a stage 1 where there's one little lump is really microscopically a stage 4. So they're irrelevant terms. I don't think about them. I don't think about them because they are in their world, their paradigm. Okay, their paradigm where they think that this is all somatic mutations. They think that cells mutate and become cancer. Well, that's not what happens. It can happen that way. Yeah, it can. Right? But that's generally not what happens. That's not how cancer comes about. We know that. And you read Thomas Seyfried from Boston University, Boston College. Cancer is a metabolic disease. They still use these words. Most people use the word disease. But anyway, How to kill cancer. This seems like, what's today's date, you guys? Seems like these are the same questions. How to kill cancer stem cells. Remember last week we talked about cancer stem cells? Anyway, just a real quickie on cancer stem cells, because it always comes up as very important. Why is it important? Because it's what spreads. Now, what is, in other words, only a cancer stem cell can produce a metastasis. However, one of the things that has been discovered in the last 15 years, I guess, is that mature cells can be turned into or revert back to being stem cells. So a mature cell is called an epidermal cell, and it goes back to becoming a mesenchymal cell. Mesenchymal is the term they use for stem cells. So the epidermal to mesenchymal transition can occur, and a lot of situations will do that. One is high dose chemo, another one is radiation. Both of those do. They do. And I know, I just remembered I promised somebody on a consultation I would send them that information because they wanted to share it with their oncologist. Shoot. Anyway, so what do we know does kill cancer stem cells? Ivermectin, big time. Look it up. PubMed. Look it up. PubMed is where you get scholarly articles, research articles. Look it up and look up ivermectin and cancer stem cells. Look up mebendazole, fenbendazole, any of them benzimidazoles, and cancer stem cells. Look up niclosamide. Look up curcumin. Look up vitamin C. They all go after cancer stem cells. Which is why when you're done getting treatment, whatever you've done, and you've gotten treatment, you've gotten some good results, you want to keep doing vitamins. You want to keep doing all the things you were taking orally. You don't have to take the anti parasitics, in heavy doses continuously for the rest of your life. That's crazy. But maybe once a year. Once a year, say, okay, I'm going to do every January, I'm going to spend the month getting rid of any parasites I picked up. And you go on a real heavy month of antiparasitics and antifungals, right? You can do that. Doxycycline also with cancer stem cells. Doxycycline is amazing. These are drugs. You would think, well, what's he talking about so many drugs for? It's just that it turns out that they happen to be very, very helpful in these situations in cancer stem cells. And cancer stem cells are what produce metastasis. And that's the problem. Remember the problem with cancer, everybody. Everyone on here clearly knows that the problem is not how do you get rid of this cancer. You can go to a surgeon and have him cut it off. It's how do I keep it gone? How do I keep this gone? That's the problem. That's the question. That's the concern. That's the challenge. So the answer is you got to stop making cancer. How do you stop making cancer? Lifestyle. Very, very important. Number one. Number two. And lifestyle includes thinking and non-thinking, eating and not eating, movement and non-movement. Non-movement, rest is important as movement. Everything is modulated with yin and yang. The universe is a yin and yang universe. Okay. Anyway, so the cancer stem cells, vitamin C, curcumin, ivermectin, benzimidazoles, and then I say vitamin C, yeah. Excuse me, and quercetin. And there are others, but these are the main ones you can actually get your hands on easily and work with. But very, very important. So if you don't have cancer, you take them. If you had it, you take them. If you have it, you take them. Okay, so part one. Part 1, cottage cheesy chun, 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 deposit clog in right leg, inner thigh, next to knee. How to fix it. Part 2, from the same person, how to help avoid it turning cancer prone. I exercise 3 times a week. It is still there. So cottage cheesy chun. I don't know. I'm not sure what chun means, but anyway, cottage cheesy. Go away. Go away, go. There we go. Okay, cottage cheesy chun. I'm not sure what that means. But anyway, cottage cheesy near your knee. Well, I'd like to talk to you, Zealous. I would like to talk to you because is there any odor to this? And does it, how long has it been there? How did it start? How did it first look? But cottage cheesy, if it's an exudate, things like that. So I don't know what that means, cottage cheesy, But anyway, I'm thinking of a fungus. Funguses can look very odd like that. Funguses. It sounds like it could be fungal, but right near your knee only. Fungus is like warm, wet spots. Like that's why fungus is like in between toes, what they call jock itch, or men, or women who are sports a lot. Women that have pendulous breasts, and under there you can get them. Vaginal, so yeast, even in the throat. So I would say if you've got a cottage cheesy something, I would go to a doctor and ask them to look at it under the microscope, send it to the laboratory, find out what it is. If you have any fevers. Now, if this is near your knee, do you have associated lymph nodes in your inguinal canal? You know where your inguinal canal? Your inguinal canal is right between your genitalia and your leg. There's a canal there that carries blood vessels, arteries, veins, and nerves. That's called the inguinal canal. So, and how to help avoid it turning into cancer? Well, one of the ways that things turn into cancer, cells become chronically fermenting cells. We're using that word again. Chronically fermenting cells. Remember, chronically fermenting cells. Is through having chronic underlying inflammation. Underlying chronic inflammation is the physiological requirement for cancer. Because chronic inflammation is producing cytokines, which are chemicals produced by cells, and interleukins, chemicals produced by cells, that do certain things to the immune system, such as turn them off. Whereas acute inflammation turns them on. So chronic inflammation turns them off, and actually chronic inflammation results in developing tumor cells and also other cells like fibroblasts, which make up our connective tissue and things, to actually support the tumor. So if you don't take care of this, if it remains for a long time, right, then it can become an underlying a source of chronic inflammation. And that's what we think of. That's why we always look at, we've got to go to a dentist that has a cavitat machine and or uses some sort of acupuncture meridian assessment to find out, in addition, because the panoramic x-rays are not going to show you everything that's going on in the jaws and the cavitations and things like that. So, but a cavitat machine is a little bit better, and it's a kind of an ultrasound for teeth, for the mouth. So it's really in that regard. Yeah, anyway, I'm very interested, Zillis. Please, maybe send me more information on it, or let's have a discussion on it. But I would definitely get that stuff looked at and find out what it is. Take it to a doctor. You got to find a good doctor and ask them, "Say, what is this here? Take part of it and send it to the lab and tell me what this is." Um, but again, I'm telling you something. Fasting. You know that I've been leading fasts and been on fasts for 45 years now, and I've read the masters and stuff like that. And do you know that it's very rare that something does not get eliminated by fasting if you do it right and you do it longer. And that's because we live in a divine body. We were given this divine, beautiful piece of equipment, with the 60 to 100 trillion cells that are engaged in 36 septillion chemical reactions every second, producing 37 million new cells every second. I mean, what a phenomenon we are. All right. And you're going to go to a guy in an office with a white coat and ask him how to take care of this incredible divine machine. He can't. Doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know. I mean, if you broke the leg, you can put it together. Stuff. He knows mechanical stuff. Anyway, thoughts on German New Medicine? Well, German New Medicine. As you may know, was basically a radiologist discovered discovered that cancer. He would have people bring in CT scans. He said that every cancer had an emotional or some sort of traumatic emotional antecedent that caused it to happen. And that was reflected actually as a radiological thing that you could see on a CT scan of the brain. And this guy was mind-boggling. He would have the doctors or patients bring in the CT scan, and he'd put it up there, and he didn't know anything else, and he would find what he called it was Dr. Hammer. He'd find what he calls the Hammer lesion, and he would say, whatever happened, you were, whatever the emotional conflict he was able to identify. Like, what? So then if you can resolve that, you can do it. And as we've said before, and I'll often say to my people I consult with, and that is, the tumors are the fruit on the tree, but the roots of that tree are psychospiritual. And so we've always got to find out what's going on, because human beings are not just biological entities. Neither are animals. We're all endowed with the divine intelligence. It's here. It's how this works. How does it work? How does it work? How do you digest your food? How the heck does your body figure out the difference between, if I take like drugs and vitamins and stuff, all that stuff's going in my belly, and somehow my body's able to distinguish what should be absorbed and what shouldn't be absorbed? But sometimes it gets overwhelmed and things get in there. Yeah, we can do that. We can overwhelm it, but it's busy doing things that it's so no. Any helpful advice for mold and Lyme recovery? Yeah, well, you've got to get these things out, whatever they are. Now, just keep in mind that anything that's causing chronic inflammation is going to support any organism, which are molds are organism. Lyme's is an organism, will support its ability to continue. Okay, so So you've got to remove any potential source. And if so, we're looking for potential sources. Again, I'm going to go back. I sound like I'm repeating myself, and I am, but it's in a different context. So please bear with me. Okay. So you've got to go back. You've got to figure out dental problems. You got to get rid of parasites. You're not going to find them. You're not going to diagnose them. If you've got parasites, there's a 90% chance, 98% chance that if you go to a parasitologist, that he's not going to find it. She's not going to find it. Okay. They don't hang out where they can be seen. They're parasites. You understand? That's what they are. So they know how not to get caught. They're good at it. That's how their life depends on it. And they've been here a long time. And they're going to be here a long time. So you're not going to find them. Accept it. And accept the fact that if you live on this planet, you got parasites. So we've got to do parasite cleanse. We've got to, and then in addition to a parasite cleanse, we've got to do another cleanse with juicing and a juice cleanse and or water fast. Juice cleanse, colonic hydrotherapy, lymphatic therapies. You got to learn to turn off the mind so that you can control the immune system. All right. You need a doctor who's going to help you look at your immune system. If you've got mold and Lyme's, the question is, do you have mold and Lyme's, or what are they, and what are they doing, and all that. And Lyme's, as we all know, has been weaponized. Molds, I don't know. Molds don't need to be weaponized. They're pretty nasty guys. The ones that are not on, that don't work with our biology. But recovery from it, in other words, if you're when you ask me the word recovery, that means it's gone now. If it's gone, then you just have to live healthy. Okay? You stop eating 4 hours before sleep. You go to bed by 8 p.m. You wake up at 4. You do your meditation, prayer, and reading. You read a book list that I'm going to make available. And you read a book 4 times before you know it. And you move all day. Every 90 minutes, you're moving for a vigorous 10 minutes. And you're doing the meditation 5-6 times a day, meaning you're turning off your thinking, right? You're not thinking for 2 minutes 5 times a day. So if you pray, after you pray, and you're talking to God, okay, don't be rude and walk away. Sit back and listen for 2 minutes. And if you're listening 100%, you're not thinking. Think about it. Kind of an oxymoron there, but think about it. If you're thinking, for example, if you're listening to music that you love, you're not thinking about anything else. You're listening. So, how do you listen to God? You listen to your breath. God's your breath. So anyway, that's what you do. You live a really healthy life if you're recovering from mold, and you also avoid any place that was going to possibly give you that kind of exposure to it. And if it's still in your house, you got to move. You got to move. Lyme's, I don't know. Now the other thing that works with both mold and with Lyme's and the chronically fermenting cells and all of these things is energy medicine. We don't talk a lot about energy medicine, but it is really. Once we understand it, it'll probably be the only thing we do, the only intervention we use, because all the universe is energy, it's frequencies, right? And so energy medicine. So the one that really impressed me tremendously was Royal Raymond Rife, who, using Tesla technology, was able to come up with a microscope to ascertain the frequency from a cancer cell. And then he had a generator that sent in opposite frequencies, because when you have waves, frequencies are waves, electromagnetic waves. If you have in wave physiology, it's really clear. You know it if you've ever been in a swimming pool or you've been in the ocean and you saw waves. Waves can either come, and if they come at the right angle, they're going to be a bigger wave, or if they come at the right angle, it's going to go underneath and kind of lessen that wave. So that's the physics of waves. I mean, that's what he did. He turned off the whatever it was, the cancer of the right energy. So I've seen somebody. I personally saw somebody with extremely severe Lyme's for many years. Have it go away with one treatment from a real rife machine. They're not many. Can a stitch or suture make a knot under the skin? Yeah. Now, usually surgeons use, for the sutures that they use for underneath the skin, so like when they close up the tissues underneath the skin before they close the skin, they use like something usually, but they use it used, I don't know what they're doing now, but they used to be called Vicryl, and the Vicryl was absorbed. I have no idea how poisonous Vicryl is, but it was absorbed and it shouldn't be there. So if you've got, couldn't do that yet, can't do that yet. Your thoughts on bioidentical hormones to treat breast cancer instead of tamoxifen? Well, sorry. I don't like those glasses. Can't find my other ones. Okay. That question. My thoughts on bioidentical hormones to treat breast cancer instead of tamoxifen. There are 3 estrogens. If you're asking the question that, and there's a choice between that and tamoxifen, tamoxifen is an estrogen blocker, estrogen receptor blocker. Therefore, obviously, the cancer you're talking about is estrogen receptor positive. There are 3 estrogens: estrone, estradiol, estriol. Granted, they produce many different metabolites. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the 3 parent major ones. These 2, the estrone and the estradiol, are major agonists. In other words, they stimulate the alpha receptor, the estrogen alpha receptor, which makes tumors grow. The estriol is a strong agonist for the beta, which makes them shrink. The estriol also mildly binds to the alpha, makes it grow a little bit, but the bigger effect on the beta, estrogen receptor beta, makes it shrink. So the net result is the shrinking. However, because the estriol is sitting there, the estradiol and estrone, which would be strong agonists for alpha receptor for growth, can't go. They're being blocked the same as tamoxifen would be doing. So I would say estriol. Now, I can't say that, though, because it's considered controversial. I'm not supposed to say that. I won't say it. So I won't say it. And then the other thing is there's another very important estrogen. Now, estriol, by the way, is an metabolic endpoint. So, for example, why people take aromatase inhibitors? Because it blocks aromatase, an enzyme that allows testosterone to be converted to estrogen, estradiol. So that testosterone can become estradiol. Estradiol can become estrone. Estradiol can become estriol. Estradiol can become estrone. Estrone can become estradiol, and blah, 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 blah. But once it gets to estriol, it doesn't go back. That's good. So that's that. And then secondly, there's another estrogen called 2-hydroxy estrone, estradiol, 2-methyl estradiol, 2-methyl estradiol, 2-ME2, 2-methyl estradiol, 2-methoxy estradiol. Can't remember the name now. 2-methoxy estradiol or 2-methoxy estradiol, I think it is. Anyway, it's 2-ME2 for short. Anyway, it is also an end metabolic endpoint. Once it gets there, it doesn't go back. But it is fantastic. If you look it up, 2-ME2, and you'll see that what it does, it's like it gets rid of not only cancers, but multiple myeloma and bladder cancers and other cancers. It's like a what? This is estrogen. And remember, estrogens are related to colon cancers and lung cancers as well, not just breast, right? And eating soy is protective against colon cancer and lung cancer and all them. So protective and therapeutic. They help if you're doing it. Yeah. Fenbendazole dosing, we did this. And for how long? Okay, so a fenbendazole, if you're getting it, get to 222 milligrams. If you're getting it online at PanCure, get to 222 milligrams. I'm afraid they're going to stop that soon, unfortunately. They will. They are real. If anybody doesn't know who they are, you got to find out. But anyway, 222 milligrams. Now, if you're just starting out, you're not going to just use fenbendazole. You're not going to just use ivermectin. You're going to use several different antiparasitics. And by the way, these antiparasitics are like crazy good for turning off all these pathways of cancer anyway. They're not just antiparasitics. They're turning off cancer pathways. So you all know the Joe Tippin story, right? 2017 still alive, and it did it with fenbendazole. So, I mean, yeah, and they're saying, oh, you can't use fenbendazole with humans. Well, let me tell that to Joe. And, Joe's a veterinarian, just said, hey, MD Anderson said, I don't know, not much we can do. Sorry, you just better go get cooked up to hospice. Anyway, his friend was a veterinarian, said, I don't know why, but every time we give these dogs fenbendazole, their cancer goes away too. He says, well, I'm going to try it. Why not? Well, it was 2017. So yeah, it works. Mebendazole, albendazole, they're all different. They're all benzimidazoles. They all have very similar work activities. But so you would so if you're going to get rid of parasites, you're going to do several different of the antiparasitic drugs. Ivermectin, niclosamide, praziquantel. There's several. Mebendazole, fenbendazole. There's several. And you're going to do them like really heavy, 3-4 weeks, like 3 times a day. And then 1 week off. And 1 week off, right? And you do this 4, 5, 6 times till there's none around. Then you want to keep them on a lower dose. So then I would take fenbendazole once a day. Ivermectin maybe at 12 milligrams at least once a day, maybe twice a day. Vitamin C, I'll continue doing it. Curcumin, all these other things to make sure that the cancer stem cells are gone. And by the way, if you're a spouse of someone who had cancer or a friend of someone who had cancer and you think you're immune from it, you're not, and neither am I. None of us are. It's all part of it. So, we all got to be doing the same thing. Oxidative therapies for treating cancer. You all know what oxidative therapies are. Oxidative therapies are not oxygenated therapies. So, for example, hyperbaric oxygen is not an oxidative therapy per se. There winds up being a lot of oxygen in the tumor, and it can cause oxidation. Yeah. So, in a roundabout way, but it's basically an oxygenation therapy. Most of the oxidative therapies, when they're talking about oxidative therapies, oxidation is the removal of an electron from the outer orbit of an atom or molecule, and now it's electron hungry because it's not balanced, and it's what they call a free radical. It's going after that, and it's going to grab it from the next whatever's next to it. That's what an oxidative agent is, and that is what we need in our mitochondria to make energy. So kind of important. Without it, we're dead. Without it, we don't exist. So oxidation is important. But there needs to be a balance. There needs to be oxidation and antioxidation, just like there needs to be inflammation and anti-inflammation, right? You need to be able to get inflamed when you need to get inflamed, and you need to turn it off when you need to turn it off. Yeah, it's how it is. So it's the same thing here. Okay, so oxidative therapies, though, are therapies that turn on the oxidative process, which is what, by the way, that's what chemo does, and that's what radiation do. They both do that. That's how the mechanism by which they eliminate the cancer is through oxidation. But there are other ways of doing it. Ozone is an oxidative therapy. Ultraviolet blood irradiation is an oxidative therapy. Intravenous hydrogen peroxide is an oxidative therapy. And believe it or not, I bet you do believe it, that is that the high dose vitamin C is actually oxidative, not antioxidant. Why? Because of the Fenton reaction. Look up the Fenton reaction. And basically, the Fenton reaction is when the antioxidant function of the vitamin C is exposed to and donates its electron to an iron or a copper. That iron and copper change because they have a 3+. They have 3 pluses. That means they have 3 negatives. So now they only have 2. So when that happens, the byproduct is hydrogen peroxide, which is an oxidative molecule. So that's how the vitamin C becomes oxidative. And if you don't know that, because I saw someone sent me a video of a guy who was explaining all this, a doctor. And apparently the doctor didn't know that or didn't think about it or whatever it is. But that's really important to understand, is that vitamin C is not oxidative. I mean, it's not just an antioxidant. Okay, so let's go some other guys. Okay, let's go. We have time, right? Do we have time? What time is it? Oh, yeah, a little bit of time. Okay. All right, good. Okay, so here's a Facebook. That was a lot of that was Instagram. Oh no, this is a TikTok. No, yeah. What do? Oh, and this is from Coco. What? This is Coco says. What doses would you recommend for very stubborn? Regarding serapeptase. What I would use actually, and this is important. I hope you guys don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. I'm not done. I was leaving. I never can tell with TikTok. Anyway, there's the serapeptidase, there's the lumbrokinase, and then there's the nattokinase. We all know about that, right? Most of us do. Now, with any kind of chronically fermenting cell problem going on in the body, there's usually situations that result in, and it all has to do, it goes back to the whole angiogenesis thing and the primary tumor and all the things we're talking about. It all seems to be related. I mean, it all is related. But anyway, there are 2 kinds of systems, just like we talked about before. We have inflammation, anti-inflammation, right? We've got estrogen, progesterone, right? Estrogen, the breasts get big, progesterone small. So there's all these modulating. There's always this yin yang everywhere. So in the world of blood clots, it's really important that you clot immediately if you get cut, because you can't lose blood. But it's real important that you stop the clot formation, because you don't want to keep clotting, because you'll wind up blocking that entire vein. So you can't keep clotting. So we have this really amazing modulatory ability in every system. So what's going on with clotting is on the fibrin side, on the side where the clots are, there's fibrinogen gets activated, and it turns into fibrin, and fibrin is like a protein matrix that forms a clot. The platelets are there first, of course, but anyway, you wind up with a fibrin clot. Now, Once the healing took, you put that clot, now the blood vessel and the skin and all that need to heal. Once they're healed, right, you want that clot to go away so that there's pure good blood flow. But what's going to break up that clot is the other side of the thing. It's called pepsinogen, which becomes pepsin, which becomes fibrinolytic. Lytic, just means is the adjective for lysis, and lysis, lysis, is to break apart. That's all. These are just terms. These are just definitions. This is not big deal. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be a biology major. Just learn the terms. Hey, let me ask you a question, you guys. Have any of you learned any of these IT terms about how your cell phones are working, your computer? Yeah, you have. You have. So it's no longer complicated because you use them all the time. Okay, so this stuff is not complicated. Well, anyway, lumbrokinase, all the serrapeptidase and nattokinase all stimulate the whole pepsinogen process that breaks down clots. That is fibrinolytic. But I'm going to get some really good news, and I'm sure you've heard it by now, but in August of 2022, there was a Japanese group. The Japanese do amazing research. You know that, right? Anyway, there's a Japanese group that found out that and proved that and published a study showing that nattokinase. Now, what is nattokinase? Nattokinase is an enzyme produced by a bacteria, Bacillus subtilis, which is added to steamed soybeans and fermented. And then it becomes what they call natto. And natto is stringy. And it's fantastic for you in terms of health. I mean, think about what a soybean is. It's got all the amino acids you need. It's full protein. It's also got phytoestrogens, which bind to the beta that shrink tumors. And if you ferment it like this and you wind up with the nattokinase, it's also going to keep your blood thin, which is really good. Keep it thin and flowing. Well, it also turns out that this nattokinase actually disintegrates the spike protein. You all know what the GP120 spike protein is, produced by the you-know-what. That happened, began 1920. Suddenly it just appeared. It just appeared. It just appeared. Never existed before, but it appeared. Anyway, it appeared kind of like, let's see, what was it, 20 years ago? 40 years ago, 1977 to be exact. HIV just appeared. It just appeared. And you know what was weird about HIV? It only liked gays and black people. Amazing. Can you imagine a virus only liking gays and black people? Amazing. Anyway, well, it turns out that part of the infectivity of both that amazing HIV and this other one that came out in that was presented to us all. What was it? February, March, or January of 2020. Also has this spike protein. So they both have the spike protein. And it turns out to be the infectious agent. It's how this whole thing gets into cells and does its deal. It's how the inflammation happens. It's how the blood clots happen, all that sort of thing. It's all happening. It's all due to this spike protein. Well, one of the beautiful things about so what I was going to answer your question, Coco, if we're going to talk about the stubborn bacterial biofilm, I would say let's go for the serrapeptidase. You could use the serrapeptidase, but I would say let's go for the natto, right? Now, the other thing is too, periodic fasting and cleansing to get rid of a biofilm. I'm not sure where you mean the bacterial biofilm. You may be meaning in your colon because that's where they form a lot. They form everywhere. but they can be forming in your colon. They could be a big problem. But fasting, cleansing, doing colon hydrotherapy, lots of things like that are really important. But also using any of the and get whatever you're going to get, like serrapeptidase, lumprokinase, nattokinase. Look at the bottle, and if they say take one a day, you take two twice a day, because they're always going to tell you way underdose it. But take the maximum of any of them. But that's what I would do. Okay, another question. I watched a bunch of your TikToks and I saw that you recommend a raw plant-based diet. I had this question. Since a lot of protein that is plant-based comes from beans like lentils and chickpeas, how are we supposed to eat it, and is wheat good or bad? Okay, some good questions. Yeah, well, strangely enough, although there's wheat, although there's protein in lentils and chickpeas, a plant-based, you get most of your amino acids, which are proteins, from your from all plants, greens, spinach, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage. It's all full of protein. It's all protein. Because think about it aesthetically. Think about this. Biggest animal in the jungle only eats plants. Doesn't eat lentils, doesn't eat chickpeas, and doesn't eat animals. It's called an elephant. Same with the rhino, same with so all these animals that are full of protein don't eat that. So yeah, we do get some from there, and that's it. So and how could we eat it? You could sprout them and make like for example, with the chickpeas, you can sprout chickpeas and you can make a raw hummus. It's great. A raw hummus is good. It's fantastic. Get used to it. You'll love it. You'll love it. You can also make a raw miso soup. It's fantastic. You can do this. You don't have to thermally degenerate your food. You don't have to. Just understand something, because I know I definitely have to. You can tell I'm not 100% raw anymore. Look at this. Whenever we can cook food, it's because it's for our pleasure, our mind. It has nothing to do with health. Nothing to do with health. But so we get our protein comes from all that. So these big animals, look at the horse, and you're going to have a good steak. You want it to be grass fed. So where's it getting this protein? From the grass, because the grass is full of amino acids. But what I'm saying is, if you really like chickpeas, really like lentils, have them here and there. They're good. They've got some really good properties for them. They're also very good too. It's just that if you got an active cancer, it'd be really good to be 100% raw for a while and then get away and then go to 80-20. But also if it's really bothering you, then you shouldn't do it either. You should go 80-20. Facebook, Amanda, do you recommend low dose naltrexone if you have CFC? Oh, you got me again. I don't remember. I'm acronyms. I gotta look it up. I don't know what a CFC is. What's a CFC? How come everything's in Japanese? Chlorofluorocarbons? Is that what you mean? See, that's why I don't like acronyms, because every profession uses them. So you got to know what here syndrome. We go. Yeah, great. Okay, here it is. Congenital mutations in genes in the intracellular, the RAS-MAP signaling pathway, cause growth and development disorders, mental retardation. Is that what you meant? Right. Chronically ferment. Right. Chronically fermenting cells. Sorry, but we got to use them. Chronically fermenting cells. But oh, that's what you meant. Sorry. How can I be stupid? Yeah, I'm stupid. Kato. I'm stupider than I thought.
But yeah, you're right. Okay, I should know that. You're beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for reminding me. Where are we now? Where are we now? Yes, I recommend low dose naltrexone for chronically fermenting cells. Thank you, everybody. Yay! Chronically fermenting cells. Yeah, yeah. Americans are using acronyms more often. I don't know. People, I think the reason people, but we're gonna do it, and for a good reason, or we'll call them chronically fermenting cells. Um, for me, like when I hear an acronym, it actually, even if I know what it means, it loses its impact. It loses its meaning. If I hear the real words, it's more. It has more of a meaning. It also reduces any potential ambiguity. A lot of reasons, and if we use them a lot. But thank you so much, Amanda. That was beautiful. But yeah, I do remember. Anywhere from 3.0 to 4.5 milligrams a night before sleep, and of course you have to be off opiates. So, and if you're on opiates because you're in a lot of pain, you can get off of them by using high dose rectal cannabis. Janie, very nice. Thank you so much. I'm glad we found each other. Chlorine dioxide, I think it's amazing. It's amazing, excellent. Um, and you know, I've been hearing about it probably, and I mean from people that actually took it and used it for I don't maybe what 15 years, 20 years, and I've never heard anybody tell me they had a problem from it. There we go. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. I never heard it. Can you imagine? No one ever said they had a problem from it. Everybody only found good things. I would say I think it's fantastic, Janie. Fantastic. Wow. So I've been following a plant-based diet and taking supplements. I do intermittent fasting for 20 hours and I eat within a 4-hour time frame. My cholesterol has dropped from 56 has dropped to 56 from 232. I had my blood drawn right after my vitamin C. Would that have affected the results? What can I do to get within the normal range again? Now that I got to tell you, Rebecca, that's kind of the lowest I've ever heard. But I would get it rechecked. No, the vitamin C should not affect your cholesterol at all. But get that rechecked. And then the other thing to do too is you can get check your vitamin D levels. Make sure you got vitamin D because vitamin D is made from cholesterol. Check your if you can get a stool test from like Great Smokies. It's not Great Smokies anymore. It's called what? What's it called? They changed it. Anyway, where they look at everything. One of the things they look at is in your stool. It's called the comprehensive digestive stool analysis, and they look at the microorganisms in your stools. They look at your the enzymes to see whether or not you're producing adequate pancreatic enzymes and your bile and all that sort of thing. So you won't be making, if you don't have enough cholesterol, you won't be making bile. If you don't make bile, you won't be able to absorb fat. There'll be a lot of fat. You'll find that when you go to the bathroom, that the feces will be floating on the water, it won't sink. So I don't know. I really don't believe. I mean, I don't believe that. Because you sound like you're probably not feeling bad from this brief thing, but yeah. Now, the question was, well, how can I do to get it within the normal range? You don't want to ever get it into the normal range. Remember, the normal range is the normal for unhealthy people. What we don't have, unfortunately, and which I have somewhat in my mind, but I've got to get some other doctors around the world. We've got to establish
we're gonna have to do testing on people that eat healthy lifestyle so we can develop a healthy range, because that's what we want to know. How can I get back to a healthy range, not a normal range? I just don't believe that. I would do that. I would absolutely recheck that again. Okay. What do you recommend for combating low platelets, red blood cells? This is from Stacy. And anemia without eating red meat or supplementing iron. I do tons of greens, juicing, some beans, etc., and these are low for me. Was thinking of trying beef liver capsules. Well, first of all, platelets have nothing to do with iron. Red blood cells, on the other hand, do. Now, in babies and fetuses, red blood cells are made in the liver. In adults, they're made in the bone marrow. So when you're eating a liver of any animal, it's kind of the animal's filter. It's the detoxifier. So you might get stuff that you really don't quite like. But anyway, Stacy, did you have chemotherapy? If you had chemotherapy, it's just going to take a while. But doing saunas, continue doing your, exercising and sweating, and you just got to get them out. Get them out. Now, I mean, how low is your? The problem is if you take, okay, here's the thing. So if you're eating, also, I'm not sure of your age, Stacy, but I would make sure that you're taking hydrochloric acid. Take 1 to 2 or 3 capsules about 10 minutes before you eat, so that your stomach is very acidic, so that which is the way it's supposed to be, so then it can then extract from whatever you're eating the iron and into a usable form where it's absorbed in the duodenum. Okay, so you have to have that. It's very important. And then give it time. But eating an animal, all you're going to get is you're going to get iron, heme iron. And you're still gonna it's you're gonna get, but eat spinach, broccoli. Just make sure your stomach just make sure you've got enough acid in it. You don't have to resort to eating animals. Yeah, that you don't have to resort. And remember, your platelets. If your platelets are low and your hemoglobin is low, most likely you had chemotherapy, and they're just going to have to come up once the chemo's out of your body. And infrared saunas help that. Exercise helps that. Chelation helps that. If you've had, especially if you had any of the platins, chelation will help get rid of the platinum. And what was that again? What you were asking? Right. So yeah, platelets, red blood cells count, and anemia without. Yeah. Okay. So okay. So that's it. So your iron. So also, so check your iron and ferritin. Make sure that your ferritin to iron ratio is less than 5 to 1. Hopefully it's 2 to 1, 1 to 1. Less than 5 to 1. That's very, very important to know. But right now, and if your platelets are low, you don't have to worry about platelets really. They may be low. They may be 80,000. They may be 70,000. They may be 60,000. They may be 110,000, right? Because you have to be like 150 to be normal, or to be normal. But platelets don't really become a problem, and because what's the problem with low platelets? Think about it. If your platelets are too low, you'll bleed because they initiate a clot, right? And you'll start bleeding out everywhere. You could just walk by a desk. You can brush your teeth. You can have whatever, constipated bowel movement, whatever can cause some some bleeding that won't stop. If you hit your head, of course, that would be a big, major problem. So, what was my point? What was my point? What the heck was my point? Oh. Anyway, until platelets get below 20,000 and even actually 15,000, we don't see bleeding. And I had so many patients in the 80s in New York City when I was training that were with whatever HIV is, they had it. And one of the things they developed was low platelets, and we had lots of them. So we learned. You got to get down 20, 15 for it to be a problem. So don't worry about the platelets and your anemia. We got to get your anemia up because you're absolutely right. Hemoglobin must be above 11 so that you don't have a systemic hypoxia, which helps cancer. So let's get that up. Now you can use some erythropoietin. You can have your doctor give you some erythropoietin with iron. If you get IV iron and erythropoietin IV at the same time, 40,000 units of erythropoietin plus, let's say 50 to 100 milligrams of venifer, which is a good iron, IV iron, then you will help it go to the bone marrow and to make red blood cells. However, if you just got the venifer by itself or iron by itself, it's probably going to be shared. Cancer cells like it; they're going to grab it, so it's a big problem too. So, but anyway, it's going to come up. I'd like you. I don't know how serious your situation is, Stacy. Do you need? I mean, do you need the erythropoietin? Do you need a transfusion? Because that's all. It's really the bottom line is the platelets have nothing to do with iron or beef or anything like that. Yeah, if you can get erythropoietin and the IV iron, and that would bring up. If it's your anemia you're worried about, how anemic are you? Are you on there? Can you show me your anemia? There you is that you? Ferritin is very low. Hemoglobin A1C is high, 5.9. Are these related? Not directly, not really. Hemoglobin A1C is really glycosylated. Hemoglobin has to do with sugar, the amount of sugar in your blood. Ferritin is a storage form of iron, so not related. You got the hemoglobin A1C. I would say we'll look at diet, and your ferritin is very low. So are you bleeding? Are you a woman? You look like one. Yeah. So are you do you have heavy periods? Ferritin usually, ferritin goes very low if you're losing blood or something like that. If it's very, very low and you're very, very, because that's not really too high. That's just like right up there with the hemoglobin A1C. Okay, how do you measure? This is from Leanne. How do you measure how much vitamin C to put in a liter bottle to equal 8 grams? The container says 1/4 of a teaspoon equals 1,000 milligrams. Right. Okay. So 1,000 milligrams is 1 gram, right? So what if 1/4 of a teaspoon is 1 gram, the whole teaspoon would be 4 grams. So 2 teaspoons would do it. Time is it, you guys? Is it time? 'Cause 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 Wow. This is from the email from Pamela. And I had an autoimmune diagnosis of dermatomyositis over 3 years ago. I've been on prednisone, also take LDN. The rash subsided, not diminished. If I take 20 milligrams of prednisone, I become almost immediately unable to move without excruciating. If I take below 20 milligrams, what suggestion? Well, what they're calling dermatomyositis is, an inflammation of skin and muscle, and something's causing it. We can't just, the prednisone that's helping you, and you can't take below 20 because of the excruciating pain. But the question is, we've got to find out what's causing it. I would definitely, you've got to see a biological dentist, a real one. You should go see Dr. Simon Yu in St. Louis, make an appointment, and he'll tell you exactly where it is, what's going on. Because you got to find out what's going on. Do you have an incredible parasite load of dysbiosis? We all have dysbiosis. How bad is your dysbiosis? But you've got a chronic inflammatory, and the chronic inflammatory might be that you've got cavitations or things somewhere inside. Something inside is like causing a chronic inflammatory. What is your CRP? What is your galactin-3? What is your ferritin and iron? You got to call me. This is like a very serious thing. So go to drlodi.com. Please make an appointment. Let's have a consultation. Anyway, you guys, it's 9 o'clock. I went or almost 9 o'clock. I went way far over it. And I'm so happy that we have these Monday talks, Sunday night talks, right? Sunday night lives. So they're really fantastic. And you guys you're amazing. I mean, you're amazing. I just want you all to know that you are amazing. You blow me away. God, they talk. I always hear we always hear about real American heroes or real whatever. The real heroes are you guys. You guys are going. I mean, anyway, what you're all going through and the way you're dealing with it is just so beautiful. And I'm like certainly honored that you'll all let me participate. And anyway, I'll see you. Could I repeat the percentage of iron and other medicine you mentioned? Oh, okay. The iron is it's called Venifer, and it's either 50 milligrams or 100 milligrams. And the other medicine is called erythropoietin. Also called, depending on the brand, it's called Epogen, it's called Procrit, EPO, things like that. But it's erythropoietin. It's made normally by the kidneys, and it stimulates the bone marrow to produce red blood cells. You give them both IV at the same time, then you get the IV started, give the iron, then let the erythropoietin, or I mean, give the erythropoietin and then let the iron flow, and then as the iron goes into the body, the erythropoietin will have woken up the red blood cells. I mean the bone marrow, so it'll be calling it, and it'll come down to it. So yeah, that's it. Venifer, Venifer, yeah, and you'll be yeah. So anyway, you guys, sawadee kap and namaste, namaskar, aloha, and let's do this again. Okay, how about next week? Is that deal? Okay. Okay, end my streams. How do I end my streams? I turn this here. Oh, I'm still on. It always does that.